classic literature, a great piece of writing that stays relevant through all time. These things teach us valuable lessons and give us a view of life we may not have previously seen, such as Paradise Lost, the story of how Satan fell from heaven. The story makes it seem that Satan is not the bad guy, much to the dismay of Christians at the time. But it does prove a point that the bad guy may not always be who you think it is. Hello, my name is Deathfeather, and this is my take on Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. The game has been out for a little bit now, and I just finished it and had some stuff to say. Much like my other video, this will be a video essay describing the events of both games. However, this one will have spoilers, and so I will leave time segments you can stop at if you have not played that far. I feel like I have a lot of things to say about the game and why it holds such a close place to my heart. This will be a longer video, and even if you don't like the rest of my stuff, don't like me, don't like what I say or I do, only take in this video. The most important work of my life, and all I ask is you hear me out. Now, without further ado, here is Last Surprise, the story of Persona 5. Darkness. A lone thief descends upon the stage, and he runs, leaping across platforms and furniture in an elegant and glistening casino, with guards and policemen chasing him, and eventually he is caught. He is beaten, drugged, interrogated. On what? The story of how a nobody became a savior of the world and the supernatural team of themes that made it happen. This is your story. You are the thief, the trickster, in a corrupt and gloomy society set in modern-day Japan. And I bring you the tale of how the Phantom Thieves and how they turned the corruption of human society on its head and showed us all what we were missing out on. Ever since the first title came out and its predecessor in Royal, I have quickly discovered that this is my favorite game. Sometimes it doesn't even feel like a game. I get so immersed in it that it makes it feel like I'm living another life sometimes. So, how good could a game be that makes me this obsessed with it? What doesn't, to be honest? The story is great, the characters timeless and unforgettable, the music and visual graphics absolutely stunning, and the fighting mechanics simple on the surface and complex enough for deep strategy. This is a role-playing game, based in Japan, a JRPG if you will. The first title offered 100 hours of gameplay roughly, and the latter adding about 40 more. It's a beautiful game from start to finish, and I would recommend it to anyone who wants a good story. As for the story and characters, let's get into it. For starting main gist, you are an unnamed silent protagonist in modern-day Japan, a second year in high school. You one night saw a woman getting attacked by a man and you save her. Unfortunately, this guy is a rich, influential politician who gets you expelled from your school. You now have a criminal record and are forced to go to the only other school that will take you, Shujin Academy. You prepare to start your new student life after moving in with your guardian, Sojiro Sakura, in his Café LeBlanc. You sleep in the attic after cleaning it, and over time you make it more roomy with a desk and TV and other things. You head to school and meet a fellow classmate, Ryuji Sakamoto. He accompanies you to school after you watch a girl get into a teacher's car, and you head to the school, but you run into a dark-looking castle instead of right where the school should be. You wander inside and find a more darker-looking version of the teacher in the car and the guards around him. He tries to kill you and Ryuji, but something doesn't let that happen. You awaken your persona, or your will to break your chains of captivity and fight for your freedom, your spirit of rebellion. Arsene, the pillager of Twilight, fights by your side in a Pokemon-esque style combat against the guards. Well, you learn that you're in an alternate world parallel to your own, where the person believes they are the king of the palace, in this case, the teacher Kamoshida. You also learn that you can wield multiple personas and go to and from via this place on your app, the Metaverse Navigator. A talking cat named Morgana tells you all this and teaches you how to fight in this world. You go to school and learn that he, the teacher of course, doesn't remember the events there. He also wants to expel you in 2 weeks and you can't really do anything about it. So, you fight through his palace day by day, because there is a so-called treasure that when taken, all his evil desires will go with it as well. You do this eventually and he confesses his crimes at the next school assembly, but not before the girl An and Ryuji have awakenings. You then decide to celebrate and make yourselves be known as the Phantom Thieves, and continue to take the hearts of evildoers everywhere. From among those people are an artist scammer, a mafia boss, a corrupt CEO, a politician, and a prosecutor. The prosecutor is the same person who is interrogating you, so you do all these things and the game catches up to the present and you play from there, because most of the game is a huge flashback. During this time you pick up more members of the Phantom Thieves in Yusuke, Makoto, Haru, and Futaba. Each of them has their own story when you hang out with them and gives you special buffs in battle and palace exploration. In your free time, you do all sorts of activities to improve social stats, and when they're high enough, hang out with confidants, your friends. They each represent a tarot card. You represent the Fool because your destiny is not predetermined and you can have more than one persona, which others cannot. You grow these bonds over time and they are very important. You have a special room that you go to manage and make new personas, managed by a man named Igor, and he guides you through making you a suitable warrior to combat a great evil. The last thing you need to know is that there is a community palace, Mementos. If you have twisted desires but they aren't big enough to warrant a palace, they get stuck here, in a giant layered palace for everyone. You gradually get nearer to the bottom until the end of the game. You do requests here for heart changes and training here in your free time. You are not without enemies, however. There is a detective out for your case, Goro Akechi. He opposes your way of justice and tries to meddle in your affairs. The other is Shido, who is the same guy who sued you and got you into this whole mess. This is the first spoiler warning for the end of Persona 5. You can skip ahead via the description at any point. At this point, you beat Shido, who is responsible for getting you arrested, and then move on to learn that Akechi was the traitor all along.
Have you finally pieced it all together? Case closed. This is how your justice ends.
He was behind the mental shutdowns, he has 2 personas, and he tried to kill you. He had his normal persona he got when joining the Phantom Thieves, however temporary. If you did everything right, you lived because you tricked him into thinking you died by putting him in the metaverse, so you didn't actually die. Otherwise, game over right there. You get shot in the head. Otherwise, you move on to see Akechi die in a small redemption. You then beat Shido and your final mission is the final layer of Mementos, where you find out that Igor is actually a false god in disguise. He was born from the disordered desires of people everywhere, because they wish for an easy life with no decision making and locking themselves up in a prison willfully. This is not the reality that belongs, and you have to fight against a false god, Yaldabaoth. You have a hard fight, and just when everything seems hopeless, all your confidants and people everywhere believe in you to win, and your persona fully awakens to Satanael.
Dang, let's go.
So you have sailed to harness the power. No matter how many prayers of those foolish masses come together.
What the?
Whoa. Even Optimus Prime wouldn't want none of that.
What an immense power! No way. Is it a persona?
I don't believe what I'm seeing. What is that? Is that the Phantom Thieves doing too? That's totally amazing. Keep it up, Phantom Thieves!
Fools. This is what mad do. Impossible.
They're insanely strong. They're not just Phantom Thieves anymore. That's like some super demon lord. So awesome!
I see. If a god plays naughty, then it's a demon lord's duty to punish him. What better way is there for a finale as a trickster? Joker, we're entrusting our strength and the people's hopes to you. Put an end to this!
Pillage him. Satanael! Be gone.
Preposterous. You dare on the people's wishes.
You kill this god with a sinful shell, and the world is saved just in time for Christmas. It's a bittersweet ending, however. You are arrested afterwards and in return after a few months to gather your belongings because your parole is over. The game ends there. However, there is more in Royal. So, spoiler warning for Royal right now. So first off, there are a few changes in Royal. There are 3 more confidants, Kasumi, Maruki, and Akechi himself. In the old game, you automatically got Akechi as a confidant that increases as the story progresses, but in this one, you have to hang out with him in order to get to the 3rd semester. This makes his character seem better and more fleshed out. Maruki is a counselor trying to do research in cognitive sciences, just like your thief work, and Kasumi is a new persona wielder. You and Akechi are more rivals in this version, and you are close, but forever in competition. There is one more palace after Yaldabaoth, and it's Maruki's. This is where it's shown that he took the place and shows up after you best Yaldabaoth, and then Akechi turns himself in so you don't have to. However, this and the other events in the near future take place in an alternate reality that Maruki made, where everyone gets what they want and they have no need to feel pain. There is one last palace in the game and it's his, and he's trying to make the perfect world. You notice something is wrong and Akechi does too, because the other Phantom Thieves are living out their lives as if they had no problems at all. They are perfectly happy, but you soon find out that Kasumi isn't Kasumi, but her twin sister. She was killed saving her sister from a failed suicide attempt. She wanted to live in that world just like the rest of the thieves, but you show them that this is not the real world and they fight alongside you one last time. Then, after each of the Phantom Thieves realizes that this isn't their reality, because all their problems were solved and they haven't felt any hardship, they join the fight. You fight through a new layer of mementos and then his palace. You eventually beat him and the game concludes with you going back to your reality where everything is right. Akechi is dead and you are imprisoned just like the first game, and you proceed with Valentine's Day and the rest is history. Each confidant has a lot to their story, but I'll give a brief summary of them all here. Spoiler warning for the first game. Ryuji is a former track star that had a disagreement with Kamoshida and hurt his leg and his pride with everyone on the track team. You help him realize it's all in the past and he comes to terms with it and his teammates and are friends with him again. Morgana is a cat who resents being a cat. A being made from mementos to help guide the trickster, you, through the game. He gets closer to you all the time and his confidant grows as the game goes on. Anna's a girl who had been protecting her friend Shiho and dealing with the aftermath of Kamoshida. You help her regain her strength and watch as she becomes a model and learns to draw the strength from her friends and help Shiho get better. Sojiro is the caretaker of the coffee shop you stay at, and your guardian. You help him realize that Futaba is his adoptive daughter and no one can ever change that. He gets closer to you while teaching you how to make coffee and curry. Tay is the back alley doctor learning to cope with her medical mistake and trying to perfect a serum that you help her with by being a lab test subject. She gives you access to medicine and you get closer. Mishima, your biggest fan. He runs the fan site and gives you requests and mementos. He also learns to be strong and not view himself as a loser as you hang out with him and turns into a valuable friend. Yusuke is the quirky artist. He gets a bad rep for his introduction, but he is just awkward. You help him out of an artist slump and help him become a great artist and true friend. Yoshida is a washed-up politician. He made some bad decisions in the past that still haunt him, but he still wants to run and give advice to you. You help him start back up his political career, and he teaches you how to speak speech. Kawakami is an overworked teacher. She teaches and takes on more jobs to pay for her oppressor's repression for not being able to help a student of hers that died. You hire her as a maid and get closer to her by helping sort her midlife crisis out and taking care of her oppressors. She gives you massages to be more productive, as well as free class time. Makoto is the student council president. She's stuck in a high expectations and book smart world. She wants to have fun and get along with other people, and you help her have fun and become human. Futaba is a closeted otaku who doesn't know how to interact with the world, and so you help her become more social and a fully functional human, after changing her heart in her own palace. Because she believed that she was the cause of her mother's death, but she wasn't. Shido was. She gives you buffs in battle. Togo is a shogi player wanting to get better at the game and please her mom, who is using her to get fame. You help her see that she is doing it for herself and not her mom, and she throws her big shogi match in an act of rebellion, and starts to see the real value. Oya is an alcoholic journalist looking for cases on the mental shutdowns. You help her by giving her an insight on the Phantom Thieves, and she makes palaces have less security. Chihaya is a fortune teller trying to make it in the big city. You help her by giving her confidence and legitimacy to her work, and she helps sway your destiny. Haru is the daughter of a dead CEO. She has a hard time believing in herself and almost was forced to be married to a man she didn't like. You help her overcome her demons and appreciate her gardening. She gives you vegetables to heal. EY is the ex-Yakuza model gun store owner. He left because he took in a kid and raised him as his own, and you help him deal with his shady past and the two get closer together. He gives you special guns and customizations on the guns. Shinya, a kid who is really good at video games. No one likes him because they think he is a jerk and he has an attitude. You help him discover kindness and appeal to his Phantom Thief fanboying, and he helps you get better at using guns, due to practice from the gun game. The last people in the base game are Sai, Igor, and the twins. Igor is your personal confidant, and thus he gets closer to you as the game goes on. Same for Sai, your interrogator. The twins require you to get certain personas and skills in order to rank up their confidant and give you more fusion options. Now, the confidant specific to Royal. Maruki, the school counselor, who you go to see to help him with his cognitive science research, and he trains your mind to be stronger. You need to hang out with him through the story in order to get to the third semester. He completes his research at the end and uses his findings to make a utopic society where no one has any pain by using the godlike power that Yaldabaoth left behind. This is the last palace. Kasumi, a pampered student who is not who she seems. She has to deal with all the pressure to be perfect and can't make it so. You find out that she is actually her twin sister because she couldn't live up to how perfect Kasumi was and tried to commit suicide. Her sister saved her and died in the process, and she has to live with the guilt. Maruki helps counsel her, and then she alters her mind to think she is her sister. You then, after the new year begins, spend more time with her to see for her future self and finds her own identity. She becomes a valuable teammate in the last palace. Akechi is perhaps the most interesting turn of events in Royal, as you get to hang out with him and have to in order to get to the third semester. And you learn that his father is Shido and his mother didn't want him. And he has a dark upbringing where he felt he needed to compensate and make everyone and himself like him. He awakened his persona, but not in the way you all did out of good and rebellion. His rebellion was born of hatred, and he has slowly lost his sanity over time, as well as concocting a big plan to prove everyone and his father that he was very powerful. He only wanted revenge, and then you came along. You fight him as rivals, and then the events of the first game happened, and he died. You have not fulfilled your promise to fight him again. However, in the third semester, you had the chance to fight alongside him, however this time with a dark persona, and he is fully psychotic. This is the analysis part of the video, so there will be spoilers for both games here. You are put into the shoes of the protagonist, who is supposed to overturn the dark fate let out for him, and have to hang out with friends and fight your way to the top in order to succeed. You learn over time that the world is corrupt, and you and the Phantom Thieves need to fix it, one person at a time. However, at a certain point there is no right or wrong, only the way that you view justice. This is especially true when looking at Akechi's contrast with you, and the deals that Yaldabaoth and Maruki offered you. Is it wrong to want to live in a perfect world with no problems? No, but that is not your reality. It is a fever dream, and at some point you have to go back to your own world. A good villain throughout all of literature is one that doesn't necessarily seem bad. You can see where their intentions were good, especially Maruki, who doesn't even want to hurt you. Satan was not viewed as the bad guy in Paradise Lost, and there are many counts of symbolism to it here in the game. First off is the tarot cards. Each confidant has a card that represents them. This represents the journey that you, the fool, take to the end, in which you get the card The World. You, right from the get-go, awaken Arsene, and he doesn't seem like the typical good guy. He's scary, red and black, and uses curse attacks. Not the typical hero, just like Satan. Each friend of yours has their own weapon and gun based on real ones except Akechi. His weapons seem more catered towards kids and much less real looking than the others. A beam sword and a ray gun are his weapons of choice, and his original persona is lighter colored and seems to be the good guy more than you, at least from assuming so. He's a lot like you, and probably what you would look like without the upbringing you had. He represents the quote-unquote God in Paradise Lost. He is actually very evil, and when he drops the fake act, is a psychopath and very much the quote-unquote bad guy. This is how Paradise Lost depicts God. He is supposed to be your mirror and rival. During the fight with the false god, you awaken your true persona, Satanael. This is said to be the Satan in the form that he had before his fall from heaven. You are the destined one to save the world and to take down God. In mythology, this is referred to as the Antichrist. Not to say the game promotes Satan glorification, the message of the game simply means that there is no good, only your perception of justice. The depths of mementos represent the layers of hell, and you have to go to the very bottom of it to fight Yaldabaoth, represented as the prime evil. When Maruki makes his dimension, the mementos is changed to have a heaven-like atmosphere, signaling that the perfect world is within his grasp. You go up to signal your ascent to heaven or to reclaim your place and have to fight quote-unquote God. The story of Persona 5 is how that no matter what pain you have to endure, it will not go away and you must live with it. But it is your friends that make it all worth living for, and there is no right answer, only what you believe in. After all, if there was no belief, Personas and Palaces wouldn't exist. And the saddest thing is that Akechi was a good soul and over time succumbed to insanity. And in the real world, you never kept his promise. One last thing to talk about is the music and how amazing it is. There is so much in between the lines of music, especially during fights. The few I want to talk about are Last Surprise, Rivers in the Desert, Yaldabaoth / Our Beginning, and Throw Away Your Mask. Last Surprise plays during all the normal fights and lead up to you giving the villains, quote-unquote, their last surprise because they'll never see it coming. Rivers in the Desert is signaling your opposition to fate and the big fight to come. Yaldabaoth and Our Beginning is edgy, electronic response that the fake god gives you. And the following is the response of the Phantom Thieves, in more elegant, real-sounding music. Throw Away Your Mask is the song that occurs in the last fight with Maruki, signaling there is no need to fight with personas and the battle is now over. There is only humans and the emotions that led to this point that they have. And you have a fist fight one-on-one with Maruki. It's very painful to watch because you both want the quote-unquote right thing, and he truly wasn't a bad guy. He only overstepped his boundaries and played God. The rest of the music in the game was great, and the game as a whole was great, and holds a special place in my heart. One could say it was stolen by the Phantom Thieves themselves. I truly believe that this game is a piece of classic literature, as its lessons will stay with us forever and remain relevant, especially now that the world has gone into a deep state of depression and corruption. No one knows right from wrong, it's only what you make of it. Keep your friends close and remember that a nobody can take on anything, even a god. The ultimate gun the protagonist can wield is gained from turning your ultimate persona into an item. It's called Paradise Lost. The real last surprise? That the answer was inside you the entire time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video. Arrivederci.
People come and they go. Some people may stay with you though. I am all alone tonight, and I get on asking myself questions. Consider